time for Building Momentum, brought to you by Momentum Advocacy. If your organization, business, or corporation needs to understand the complex nature of our capital, you need to get a hold of Momentum Advocacy. Let's talk about what's going on in Minnesota today.
We're lucky to have him. He's Brian McDaniel. He's one of the big muckety-mucks at Momentum Advocacy, and I love having him on. Brian, how are you?
I'm doing just dandy.
I don't know if you caught it before we even went into the last break. I mentioned that you're coming on, and your organization, Momentum Advocacy, between all of you, I mean, I'm only taking a stab here, 100 years worth of experience up at the Capitol, right? I mean, you've been around the block.
Yep.
I thought 2025 was as crazy as it could possibly ever get. And we're already starting out now since that last session to this. Does this look like it's changing at all? The craziness that was?
Well, I mean, I think it's a little bit different. Sometimes chaos is a ladder and it's a good thing. And sometimes, something can be pretty messed up, but you can still have a good time. The whimsy is out of this session already. We're dealing with increased security and, assassinated speakers and John Hoffman coming back. It's just
I want to ask you about that because it didn't last 24 hours. This is what drives me nuts. So I'm not there. I presume you were at the Capitol on opening day?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. So you're at the Capitol opening day. They start with I believe they started with Hoffman coming up the stairs, getting into the Capitol and going into the Senate. I say this because I love John and he's a friend of mine, Senator Hoffman. It looked to me like the end of the Star Wars movie where he's coming up and they just saved the Ewoks' whole planet and they're good. It was just that, and you needed music behind it. It was just that great walk. And then his speech, if you know him, it was heartfelt. It was all that. And then you saw the other senators, clapping and shaking it. It felt like there was one common thing going on at that moment, that we were all one brothers. Am I wrong? Were you in the room?
I was not. I was there, certainly.
Okay, but
and Senator Hoffman is one of the senators that I'm absolutely the closest with. One of my colleagues and I spent 90 minutes with him the Sunday before session, and that was very healing to see how great he was doing, and that the real John was still there. And the Senate was doing that. The House did their memorial to Speaker Emerita Melissa Hortman and her husband, who were assassinated. So on that day, we were all one state.
Yeah, and so I hate to be played like a patsy, but I really looked at it, and I'm looking at people's eyes, and John made some comment that if it weren't for his daughter keeping her head about her, that guy could have went on to done even more damage, maybe even the people in this room. And it just had this, okay, we are one Minnesota. It was that, and I thought, okay, there are some things, in my opinion, are no-brainers. We got to fix fraud, or whatever. We're going to get some things done. That did not last one day. Here, the DFL comes out with their 11 things for ICE. Okay, let's have a discussion. I got no problem. The Republicans have come out with their 5 things for fraud. Okay, let's have the discussion. But neither team, and they need to hire you guys. You guys got to work for both sides. Here, instead of 11 brilliant DFL things, how about 5 on ICE and 4 on fraud? And the other side could go 3 on fraud and 2 on it. Prove that you're in the game. And it isn't me against you. Am I crazy here?
Well, and where things really went awry is that, once we started mixing our political views with our religious views, we lost the art of compromise, because you should never, ever, ever compromise your religious views. But once we kind of made politics a religion, then all of a sudden, to cross the aisle is treason. Yeah. And the purity factor, politics is supposed to be compromise. Yeah. It's supposed to say, I'm trading A to get B because I value B more. Now everybody wants B without having to give up A, and that's just not how it's ever worked.
So I'm still hoping and praying here. So there are many House and senators who are not running for re-election, right? The big issue with the session this time, and it happens twice every 10 years, is that everybody's running. So everybody's got to hide. No one can make the vote that would upset their apple cart. Any chance in your thoughts, Brian, that possibly one of these, because you only need one on either side. I mean, let's be honest, one on either side to change their mind to say, for the better good, I will X and move to the other side for this vote. You're not going for re-election. Is there any chance that's a possibility, or are we that entrenched because it's a religion? I love when you put it religion. Then I'm Catholic, can't not be Catholic anytime, and is that where we're at?
Well, I think on some things, I think that is a possibility on fraud. I don't know that it's going to be that a DFLer or a Republican bucks the party. I think it'll be a lot more negotiated. Like, okay, this person needs to vote for this. These guys are going to act angry about it, but we want it to happen, and that could happen. But on things related to ICE, very little can happen. Guns, very little. So some of the more controversial things that wouldn't happen on.
All right. So you bring it up that, some people are going to be upset about this. Someone says, this is what drove me nuts yesterday. So long story short, the OIG bill gets to the Senate 60-7. I mean, I don't remember last bill that had that much camaraderie going with it. Dies in the House. Doesn't get anywhere. Doesn't get the vote to vote on it, which is a whole complicated thing. But he didn't get the vote to vote on it because the Democrats didn't want to vote on it. Okay. I see the governor yesterday comes out and he says, somebody asked him, hey, will you sign off on the OIG bill? And he goes, of course I would. I've been for it this whole time. There's going to be other things too. And I'm like, I can't even believe my own mind. I'm going to have to go look it up. He wasn't for it, but that's a whole other thing. So the bill comes up yesterday, and I'm thinking, excuse me, I'm nuts. We've had 9 months of the worst fraud press in the history of any state ever. Could that change one human being's mind to get this thing to pass? And I thought, this is going to be our shot. I read when I get out of the office yesterday on X that the Republicans voted down the OIG bill. I thought, what? 67 changed their votes from 9 months ago, and we had the word, that can't be. And so I look it up and I try to find it out. And evidently there was some stuff thrown in by the Democrats, poison pills, if you will, that's what you, and that just demolished the whole thing. But that's not what you read, sir. If you just read the headlines, the Republicans said no to OIG. You can't trust anything. I don't know how people will ever vote. You don't. Go ahead.
And one thing too on that is because I was following it as it was happening and seeing the press how they covered it, and someone who works for one of the major stations who I won't name, but anyway, he wrote the article, but he doesn't write the headline. So the article says one thing, the headline makes it seem like something else. But I guess I would say the Republicans voted down a OIG bill, but not the OIG bill.
See, but you do this for a living, you and all your folks there. God love you because you dig into this stuff. The average Joe, the rest of us, we're doing the rest of our job. You're catching a headline, you're looking next. If we're going to play that game, right? Now we have a bill, you don't like the bill, you put something in it is so bad, everybody in that, all 67 on both sides switch their votes. Yeah, we'll vote for it. Yeah, you won't. You're going to do something like that? This goes nowhere, does it? They're playing that hard a game with this thing.
Well, and I was surprised that it went down like this, only because there is so much. I won't say kumbaya. The Democrats have changed their tune. At first, they were kind of trying to say, "Well, the fraud thing's not real." Then they said it's real, but now it's not $9 billion. It's only $2 billion. So they're coming along on that. So
Brian, you do this for a living. Let me know. If you're arguing the number of billions, you've lost the argument, right? I mean, one's probably enough.
One is enough, and you can't say, well, $1 of fraud is unacceptable, and then say 1.75 billion. That's not nearly as much as you said. No, that's way more than enough to make this the biggest issue in the world. But for the federal guys coming in here and making fraud completely irrelevant. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. No. Okay. So back to. You hear the differences. They're changing their argument on the left, say they are, but will they change their vote? This is me back to you trying to find out, can you prognosticate this? Will there be some way of going after this fraud that is completely independent? The way we've got it now hasn't been working. Isn't that the easiest argument? It has been working so far. What we've got, we have to change.
I predict, I prognosticate.
There you go.
The OIG bill will pass. But they haven't come up with the trade yet. Is it
Oh,
that Republicans will pledge the necessary votes for the bonding bill or the
oh.
capital investment bill in exchange for the OIG? Yeah, that could happen.
See, I throw this out. It's a sidebar completely, but the idea that we're talking about billions and whether billions are enough anymore. When we're in the bonding bill, the bonding bill is always about $1 billion, right? A little over, a little less. So they're going to fight over how much we spend. I think all of Minnesotans now, billion means nothing. It's like if it's $1 billion, okay, it's as much as fraud as we had in this one thing. Yeah, whatever.
Well, remember when we used to care about the deficit, and we used to think that Republicans don't spend money and Democrats do, and then the Republicans go to Washington and spend money like drunken sailors. Remember that? The numbers just get so big that we are desensitized to it because we know we're never going to really be able to attack it, and that's happening on fraud.
Yeah, see, and that's what I think most people, we just give up. Because I remember when we were yelling and screaming about $1 trillion on the national debt. What does that number mean? Remember they had to come out and show you on TV how many zeros that is? That's where we were at my lifetime 20 years ago, and we're at 38 now. Yeah. So, I think people don't care, and I told this ledge, spend whatever you want. No one cares. Make it $2 billion, really get all the roads fixed, fine. Numbers mean nothing anymore. I think we're getting there.
But they won't. They'll spend the money and the roads won't get fixed. That's what's infuriating. The money will be spent and the world will not change because of what they're spending it on.
That is too funny.
Pete.
The problem is that's funny because it's true.
Yeah.
It'd be a joke otherwise, but it's true. I got to go to break. We'll be back. More stuff you will not believe. I've got him, Brian McDaniels from Momentum Advocacy. More right after this.
When the stakes are high at the Minnesota Capitol, you need more than a lobbyist. You need a partner. At Momentum Advocacy, we bring nearly 90 years of combined experience in government relations, public affairs, and strategic communications. From nonprofits to national corporations, we help organizations navigate Minnesota's political landscape with integrity, insight, and results. Whether you need legislative champions or headlines, Momentum Advocacy delivers. For more, visit momentum-advocacy.com. Momentum Advocacy, your friends at the Capitol.
A as in alligator. L also in alligator. But it's not alligator. It's the Al Travis Show.
And I've got him, Brian McDaniel, with Momentum Advocacy as we're building momentum. Sir, I ask you this, and you almost couldn't write a play about this and have this be real. So the governor wants to get tough on this fraud stuff, and he hired a group called Optum to do it. He gave $2 million. We have all these other people supposedly going to say, but we're going to pay these guys $2 million. Fine, good. I don't even care. $2 million means nothing anymore to me. Billions is what I play in. Today's story, an Optum employee was found guilty of fraud. The fraud was he was making pretty good, pretty mucky muck, $260K a year. He hires a friend in New Jersey to work for the company. Never showed up, never used a computer, never did anything. And he sent him $100,000 a year check. They split it between the two of them. He even got bonuses at the end of the year. They catch him. You want to know how they caught him? They fired the guy who did the hiring for another fraud he was committing. And then it all fell apart. Now, sir, this sounds a lot like having, I don't know, an autism center that doesn't have autistic kids in it. I mean, it's a little weird. The hiring of Optum, and again, I don't know any of these people, and maybe they're clients. If they are, let me know. I'm sorry. But the governor, you're going to find somebody. You don't have someone on staff to Google search and find out they're currently in a fraud trial before you hire them. And then you look into it and find out, oh, this guy himself had 2 fraud counts. You know what I'm saying? Is he inept? His people? Is it he's brilliant that if you're going to go after fraud, hire fraudsters. They know how to do it? Or like Representative Driscoll said, he might just be the most unlucky human being ever in the last year of any human ever. How is this possible, Brian? This is ineptness.
Well, I mean, you don't look under the bed unless you've hidden there before yourself, right? So maybe it is genius, but no. And you know, as former staff for a Speaker of the House and staff for a governor, I feel uniquely positioned to say both that you can't blame staff and that staff needs to do a better job of getting the governor to pay attention to what's going on. Let's remember, there have been many fumbles like this. Let's go back to when the governor tried to say, all right, state employees have to go back to the office. But then he didn't bother to talk to the unions about that beforehand. There's just some stuff that's inexplicable that happens with Governor Walz, and part of it is now what's his future? He doesn't know. And this is not to be a jerk about it, but he's going to be homeless and jobless, pretty soon, and things aren't looking that great. But with this one, because Optum was hired without really going through a process, I think that if people were paying attention to this, they would focus on that and be quite mad about it.
I just read it and couldn't imagine. That's like you say, you couldn't write the play and then you put it in there, and then these guys are actually going to be people who do fraud. That they wouldn't let you make the movie. No one's going to ever believe it. And here we are living it in Minnesota. That's crazy. All right, I ask everybody, been asking them, anything legit gets done this year? What do you think actually gets out of any committee that'll make anybody say, "Oh, good"?
I think there's going to be some protections going forward to try to root out and stop the fraud, waste, and abuse. What that's going to be, I don't know, but I think there'll be something. I think they will get a bonding bill done, but not a lot other than that.
Okay. If somebody had something they wanted to get done or not get done, I couldn't imagine doing it myself, just saying, okay, I'll run and figure it out. How do they get a hold of you guys over there, Momentum, and say, okay, do we have a shot of getting something done, or do we not, or where do we start in the process? And maybe it's too late, but we can get you started right after that. How does someone get started with you guys?
Well, I mean, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, and a lot of times you need to educate the elected members, sometimes for more than one session.
Sure.
So, as much as I'm being kind of Debbie Downer about it, if you wait a year, then you are just delaying your success. Right. Another year. So we would be happy to talk to you. There's no benefit to me to overpromise and underdeliver. So we'd just love to talk to you about your issue and give you a very honest assessment of what you could expect to happen or not happen.
All right, Brian, I always love having you on the program, and thank you very much for doing this for us. It is always our pleasure. And you can go to momentum-advocacy.com to get a hold of him. We'll do it again, Brian.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
And that's another Building Momentum with Momentum Advocacy. Your friends at the Capitol. Join us every other week to discuss all things Minnesota with Building Momentum with Momentum.